All right, let's get right into it. Welcome to today's Explainer, where we're going to crack the code on something pretty much every single one of us struggles with: maintaining our focus. We're going to break down the exact science and, more importantly, the proven methods to achieve instant focus. Seriously, if you've ever found yourself staring at a textbook or a work project only to suddenly realize you've been totally zoned out for 20 minutes, well, you are definitely in the right place. We're cutting straight to the chase today, relying purely on the data, the biology, and some highly actionable techniques that can completely rewire your concentration. But first, I've actually got a quick challenge for you. Right now, I'm going to give you 7 words. Ready? Apple, train, market, banana, school, camera, garden. Okay, now pull your focus away from them. If I asked you what word came right before garden, most of you, probably 70 or 80%, could easily say camera, right? That's just basic forward recall. But what if I asked you to recite all 7 of those words in perfect reverse order? Studies show that barely 10% of people can pull this off today. And why is that? It's because our working memory and our foundational focus power have become incredibly weak. So, here is our roadmap to fix exactly that. We'll start with a modern focus crisis, explore the science of distraction, outline actionable daily habits for concentration, and finally, unpack a really powerful long-term strategy, the 90-20 rule. Okay, section 1, the modern focus crisis. It's actually wild how oblivious we can be to our own screen time reality. We'll think we've been on our phones for, maybe an hour, only to check our stats and find out we've logged 8, 9, or even 10 hours in a single day. And the really crucial point here is what this constant screen time has actually done to our brains. Research indicates that the modern human attention span has completely plummeted to under 8 seconds. I mean, just think about that for a second. If you try to do a difficult task for just 8 seconds, your mind almost automatically starts looking for an exit. You get this intense magnetic urge to just reach into your pocket, grab your phone, and escape. That is the harsh reality of low focus today. And this brilliantly illustrates why fixing this is so important. There's this great story about a young boy who's struggling in school and constantly being mocked by his classmates. Feeling totally defeated, he told his teacher he was just going to quit. Well, the teacher agreed, but asked for one final favor. The boy had to walk to school carrying a glass filled to the absolute brim with milk without spilling a single drop. The boy agreed. He walked the entire way, eyes locked on the rim of the glass, stepping super carefully. When he arrived, the teacher asked, "So, did the other kids mock you today?" And the boy smiled and said, "They might have, but my entire focus was on not spilling this milk." The takeaway here is profound. When your focus is in the right direction, the noise and the problems around you simply disappear. Which brings us to section 2, the science of distraction. Specifically, we need to talk about dopamine and the default mode network. Because look, if you're struggling to pay attention, it's not entirely your fault. There is a deeply ingrained neurobiological system working against you. So let's break down the dopamine reward system. Dopamine is that brain chemical released when we get a reward. When you're scrolling through 15-second social media reels, your brain gets a massive instant hit of dopamine every single time a video finishes. It's an instant reward, right? So your brain feels super happy. But contrast that with studying or doing deep work. There's no immediate reward there. It's a low dopamine activity. You definitely don't get a chemical hit for just reading a single page of a textbook. And because of that lack of dopamine, your brain shifts into what scientists call the default mode network, or DMN. This is exactly what's happening when you zone out. You're sitting there trying to read a report, your brain isn't getting its dopamine fix, so it slips right into the DMN. And suddenly, out of nowhere, you're overthinking about an argument you had yesterday, or you're stressing out about the future, completely disconnected from the work sitting right in front of you. We have to short-circuit that dopamine dependency. So moving on to section 3, daily habits for concentration. These are highly practical, scientifically backed steps you can start using literally today to rebuild your focus. The very first habit is incredibly simple. It's your posture. Think about it. When you sit up straight, your chest cavity is completely open. This allows your lungs to expand fully, bringing in maximum oxygen, which naturally lowers your stress levels. But when you slouch or lie down on the couch to work, you literally compress your chest cavity. You take in less oxygen, and as a direct result of that, your body's stress levels actually shoot up. And this isn't just theory, by the way. Psychologist Amy Cuddy actually conducted research where she placed students into 2 groups, one sitting straight, the other slouching or lying down. The results were absolutely staggering. The group with the correct straight posture saw a massive 40 to 50% boost in their focus. Brain scans even showed that the slouching group was producing significantly higher levels of stress hormones simply because of how they were sitting. So, sit up straight, open your lungs, and fuel your brain. Habit number 2 builds right on top of that oxygen flow, controlled breathing. There was this fascinating 2018 study by neurologists that looked at heart rate variability, or HRV. Basically, this measures the tiny intervals between your heartbeats. The data showed a really clear correlation. A higher HRV means lower stress and higher focus. And the absolute fastest way to achieve a high HRV? Controlled, slow breathing. This traces all the way back to ancient Gurukul practices, but applying it today is incredibly straightforward. Try doing this right before bed or the very moment you wake up. You inhale slowly for 4 seconds, you hold that breath just briefly, and then you exhale smoothly for 6 seconds. Doing this deliberately slows your heart rate, increases your HRV, deeply oxygenates those brain cells, and actively flushes out stress hormones before you even start your work. All right, that brings us to our third habit, the 60-second eye lock. This is known in ancient Gurukul and yoga traditions as Trataka. Traditionally, it involved staring intensely at a burning candle for 60 seconds. But why does this actually work? Well, it's because where your eyes lock, your mind follows. Think back to when you were a kid and your parents made you trace the words in a book with your finger. They were doing that to make you lock your eyes onto a specific physical point, so your brain literally had no choice but to follow along. But here is the catch. To maintain an eye lock, you need a clean environment. Because if your desk is completely covered in phones, tablets, and junk, your eyes capture all of it, and your brain tries to process all of it, which completely destroys your focus. Actually, J.K. Rowling wrote Harry Potter in a cafe, specifically to escape the visual clutter of her home environment. She needed a totally clean line of sight to maintain her focus. Clear your workspace, clear your mind. It really is that simple. Habit number 4 is purely a psychological trick. It's called the 10-minute more rule. You know when you hit that wall where studying or working just feels impossible and you desperately want to quit? That's when you have to negotiate with your brain. If you tell yourself, oh man, I need to study for 2 more hours, your brain is just going to shut down. But if you tell yourself, okay, just 5 or 10 more minutes, then I'll stop, you completely short-circuit that resistance. Once you push through those extra 10 minutes, you'll very often slip right back into a flow state without even realizing it. Okay, so those are your short-term daily fixes, but for sustained, heavy-lifting focus, we turn to Section 4, the 90-20 rule. This is our long-term strategy, and it's based entirely on your natural biological rhythms. To really understand the 90-20 rule, we have to look at how we sleep. Human beings naturally sleep in distinct 90-minute cycles. We start in a low sleep phase, dip way down into deep sleep, and eventually hit the REM, or rapid eye movement cycle. That entire loop takes exactly 90 minutes. Well, science has discovered that our waking brain's capacity for intense focus operates on that exact same 90-minute biological clock. So, here is that 90-20 cycle in action. At minute 0, your focus starts off a little bit slow as you settle in, but as you keep going, it ramps up, hitting this absolute peak state of concentration right around the 60-minute mark. But here is the vital part you can't ignore. By 90 minutes, your focus reserves are biologically depleted. Done. Empty. If you try to push past 90 minutes without stopping, you aren't actually working. You are literally just pretending to work. Your brain needs a 20-minute total break to recharge. Do that, and by minute 110, you can start a fresh, highly productive 90-minute cycle all over again. So let's recap quickly. We've covered the straight posture rule, the 4 to 6 breathing technique, the 60-second visual eye lock, the 10-minute mental trick, and the biological 90-20 focus cycle. The question is, which of these are you going to actually implement today? Because look, in a world engineered to steal your attention 8 seconds at a time, protecting your focus isn't just about getting more work done. It's honestly about protecting your free will. So are you controlling your brain, or is your screen? Try just one of these techniques today and take your mind back. Thanks for joining me on this explainer, and I'll catch you next time.